Hey, I'm Sharpe Dunaway, and welcome to the very first episode of Happy Hour. Today is the man responsible, take it or leave it, for my job in radio when I got it. My first real job that I want to call it radio in 1988, Mr. Tom Wood.
You worked at a radio station before Magic, though, didn't you?
Yes, my first firing.
Yeah.
My first time I got fired. KSMO in Salem, Missouri. And I came down and moved to Arkansas in August of 1988. And I'll never forget how I got the job. Mm-hmm. I called David Allen Ross, and I asked him, I said, hey, I heard you guys are looking for part-timers. And David said, okay, yes, we are. But here's the deal. You got to spell Tom Wood's name right. If you put on the package Tom Woods, right, it was going to get filed in the trash can. Yeah. You were a stickler about your name.
If your last name is Wood, people are going to call you Woods if they don't pay attention. And if your last name is Woods, they're going to call you Wood. They're going to get it wrong. Do you remember a woman named Jean Woods? She was the traffic director for a little while. Happened to her all the time, just the opposite of what happens to me.
I fight for the E on my name.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever I think of the word sharp, even when I'm writing something and it's a reference to sharp, not dull, my first tendency is to spell that word with an E on the end because I've written your name so many times.
Yeah. Well, the reason why we're doing this podcast is because I wanted to start a podcast. I bought all this neat, fancy gear because I wanted to do it right. I didn't want to do it shoddily.
It's beautiful. I can tell you right now, I knew just because you and Angela were involved that it would be impressive when I walked in, but this is like beyond what I kind of thought.
Sounds like a radio station, doesn't it?
Man, it's awesome. The headphones are so clear. The lighting, the cameras, this is really top drawer.
Now, later on in the show, if you stick around for the whole show, I might let Tom have some fun and drop an F-bomb.
Oh, okay? Hey, I don't do that.
because you got to admit, when you do it on mics like this, it sounds really good.
It really does sound good. You're right.
So on January 24th, there's going to be a 40th anniversary of the birth of Magic 105. And this is something that you and John Miller are putting together.
Yeah, John Miller called me after he had a successful 50th anniversary celebration for KAAY, did one for KOKY, and then he called me out of the blue and said, would you like to do one for Magic 105? I said, absolutely, I'd like to do that. And then I started putting together a little list. He said, well, who all would be there? And I started going through all the staff members, and everybody is so excited about it. That kind of caught me by surprise. I knew some people would kind of like to do it, but everybody is so jazzed about it.
You got Carol Kramer coming in from Seattle.
Yep.
You've got Casey Jones coming in from Florida now?
Georgia.
Yep. We got David Allen Ross coming in from the wilderness. Right. I can say that because he'll never see this because he doesn't even have online. He doesn't know what Wi-Fi is. He's living the dream.
He lives so far out there that when you text him, it takes 20 minutes for the text to get there.
Right. We got Tommy Smith coming. Who else is on the list?
Yep. Let me see. We got Jeff Allen's going to be there. We've got Carol Kramer, you said. Casey Jones, you said. Reed Mitchell's going to be there. Mm-hmm. You won't know this name, but Scott Charton is a guy that we hired among the very first group of people. The very first group of people was Tommy Smith, Sandy O'Connor, Scott Charton, Michael P. Scott Charton was actually a news director for the radio station because we thought news was going to be an important part of being a brand new local radio station. And when the nuclear explosion took place in Damascus, it was very shortly after we'd gone on the air. And Scott was the news director. Wow. So he ran up there and he covered it and actually delivered some newscast material to national networks about Damascus because we were right there.
That nuclear explosion in Damascus was that explosion that I just found out recently could have ended the world.
It was that serious. It really, really was. That's why it made national news.
Yeah.
I mean, scientists were being called in to say, how close of a disaster was this? And they're saying this could have been like hundreds of thousands of people dead disastrous.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And Scott was there, and he now has his own consulting and marketing firm in Columbia, Missouri. But I called him just like I called everybody else about this reunion. He said, are you kidding? Yes, I'll be there.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
That's cool. So let's take it back. First of all, let's talk about, I want to pick your brain.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. I want to pick your brain. Let's go back to where Tom Wood moves from Illinois to Arkansas to form Magic 105. Let's start at the beginning.
When I was working in Illinois, I was at Peoria, Illinois, and we were doing a top 40 FM station. Dick Booth was the manager of this station. It was an AM that was a middle-of-the-road AM station. The FM top 40 station, which I was the morning guy and assistant program director to a guy named Charlie Quinn. And then there was a TV station. It was a CBS affiliate. So it was AM, FM, TV. It was owned by a company called Midwest TV that had properties in Peoria and in San Diego, California. So everything's going great. The station is really kicking ass in Peoria. Everything is just as happy. Wendy and I were happy. We were beginning to think about raising a family. And one day, Dick Booth, who I saw every single day, he was the manager of the station. He asked me to go to lunch, which was unusual. And when he told me the reason, he said he and a friend of his, Gordon Hedges, had bought interest in a radio station in Little Rock, Arkansas, and was I interested in coming down with them and starting a radio station. And I said, I don't know anything about Little Rock, so fly us down there. We'll take a look. He flew us down here. We spent a couple of days. We thought, if you're ever going to take a real flyer in your career, now's the time to do it because you already know and trust this guy, so you'll be in it with him. And we did. We came down. We came down in a couple of days before New Year's Eve, 1979. Gordon was already here. He was doing the public survey, asking community leaders what would be important to them about a radio station. Dick and I got here, and the very first week of January 1980, we would drive from Little Rock, where we all lived, up here to Conway to start working on that building on Civil Defense Hill. There's a little concrete block building, and that was going to be our studio. We were going to have our sales offices and our kind of administrative face on Rodney Parham, where Coy's restaurant used to be. There's a Burger King there now, and it's over by where Delicious Temptations is. And we went to work for 8 months building that building, working with contractors every day, going to lunch with these guys who were building our ductwork and everything. And that's where we began to get a real feel for there's a spot for a rock station here, because we didn't know what the format of the station was going to be. KQ94 was on the air then, an album rock station. We used to call it album rock. And AOR is exactly what we used to call. That's what the charts were in the magazines. Mm-hmm. They would be the AOR charts. Well, it slowly began to crystallize that an album rock station was what we were going to do. And as the time got closer that the studio and the building were finished, we had an engineer that was working with us. It came time to start thinking about hiring a staff. And so the very first guy I hired was Sandy O'Connor, who was connected via KKYK with all the record labels. And I knew we were going to need that kind of connection. So made him an offer. He came on board. He told me about this friend of his who'd gotten out of the Army and was working in Kansas and was going to come back to Arkansas and was looking for a radio gig, and that was Tommy Smith. Ended up hiring him to do nights. Michael Langley, was a student at Hendrix and had a broadcasting background from El Dorado, hired him to come in and do overnights, hired Scott Charton as a news director. There were a couple other people that I hired that I can't really remember what their names were because it was the very, very beginning.
Wow.
And it wasn't people that lasted very long. But that's how the staff got put together. We tested out the signal, and in August of 1980, we put that baby on the air. And, man, it was a slow burn at the beginning. The advertising community in Little Rock was poo-pooing the idea that a station based in Conway could compete for Little Rock advertising dollars. But I'll never forget, in those days, it was 2 ratings books a year, spring and fall. Our first one was a 2.5 share of the market, 12 plus. And we thought, well, at least we made an appearance. Mm-hmm. The next one was 5.2, and the next one was 7.7. So within a year and a half, we had an 8 share of the market, which put us way up there in the top 5 or 6 stations. And we thought, we got something here. And slowly the staff started to evolve. I was doing mornings then. We'd realized the talent of Tommy Smith, moved him from nights to afternoons, hired somebody different for nights. David Allen Ross came along a couple of years later because Sandy had left to go to work for Capitol Records, I think it was. And slowly the staff began to come together, and we had a tiger by the tail.
Who was the who was the competition for Magic 105 when you first started out? Who was the station because you always got that station you're coming after?
Yep.
What was it?
That was KQ94.
KQ94.
Yep, 94.1, and it was are you familiar with the name Lee Abrams? Mm-hmm. Okay, radio consultant of many, many decades. He had developed a format called Lee Abrams Superstars, and what it was an album rock format that concentrated on the biggest names. He was anti-deep cuts, anti-breaking ground with new music, anti any kind of taking a chance. He was Boston, Foreigner, Journey, that kind of music constantly. So that anybody who tuned in the radio station was going to hear something they knew and going to hear something that they probably liked, music research would indicate. And that's what KQ94 was doing. They didn't do any kind of big high-profile morning show. I was doing mornings for Magic 105, and I'm not a high-profile air personality. I've always just been interesting and competent.
And smart.
And thank you.
I mean, I always thought you were one of the smartest guys. You had a way to twist it around and make stories out of songs. That's one of my favorite things you did. You took a Creedence Clearwater Revival song one time, and you took it piece by piece and dissected it. And I enjoyed those like crazy, but I digress.
Loved it. Yeah. And I think that realizing where the real talent in the radio station was and not having a big enough ego to say, well, I'm going to keep doing mornings, I don't care how good that guy is, was one of the things that helped me out, because as it became slowly more and more obvious that Tommy Smith was the talent that he had turned out to be, and moved him into mornings and me into middays, and David was doing afternoons, David Allen Ross, you just got to follow the obvious indicators that show you this is where the future for the radio station is, right?
A morning show is a morning personality is a breed of their own. I did, and I don't brag about it at all, but I did a morning show on Magic 105 right before the end of it. Yep. And then I went over to the Point and did a morning show there, and I hated it. I'm not gonna lie. There was an attitude you had in the afternoons. There's an attitude you have in the mornings, and I could not translate my afternoon energy into mornings. I was faking everything I did in mornings. There was nothing real about it at all.
Well, physically, it's the second most punishing shift. Overnights is the most punishing shift on a radio station when everybody was all live all the time. But mornings is not far behind. It's not natural to go to bed at 8:30 and get up at 4 a.m.
I forgot who told me. They said, you don't ever get used to morning radio. You get used to how morning radio makes you feel.
Yes. I can remember so many times when I was doing mornings, it wasn't that hard to be okay when I got there and cracked the mic at 6 a.m. because I lived in North Little Rock. I was driving from North Little Rock to Conway. You got that half hour to drink coffee, think about where you're going to do that day. And by the time I got there, everything was cool. But it was the afternoons, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, when I'd finish up doing what I was going to do and I was going to come back to town, especially in the summer when it was 100 degrees. I'll never forget that first summer in 1980 when Wendy and I moved here from Illinois. That first summer we spent here in 1980, there were 10 or 12 days in a row where it was 105 degrees plus. And I was driving back down I-40 coming back to North Little Rock, and I swear I fell asleep at the wheel. I must have, because I could just feel myself kind of dozing off. So you're right. You never get used to doing it. You just get used to the way it makes you feel.
Well, let's talk about the staff, the evolution of the station. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about from 1980. You talked about the first hires you've made, but let's talk about some of your DJs that you had on, the radio personalities that you really thought were the standouts. No, I'm kidding. No, I seriously, I'm not fishing for a compliment. I just want to know, but let's talk about let's before me.
Before
I'm kidding. BS before Sharpe.
I was trying to think of what the initials would be. Yeah. BSD, no. Before Sharpe Dunaway.
Take it before 1988 when I arrived. What? Because Magic 105 was the station when I got there. I mean, there was nothing I was going to do to make it any greater than it already was, because it was huge. And it was like, oh my God, I'm working for the best rock and roll station in Arkansas. 1980 to 1987.
Let's see, David Allen Ross, I think it was during those years where, as I said, I began to realize where the real talent for certain day parts was. When when you're putting together the lineup for a baseball team, you pretty much know who's going to play, who's going to bat cleanup, who's going to be your leadoff guy. Well, we didn't really know all of that to begin with. We were just staffing the station. So we had me doing mornings. We had Sandy doing middays. We had, I can't remember who was doing afternoons at the very beginning because Tommy was doing nights. We eventually moved Tommy to afternoons. And there was a woman named Diane Cotton who did overnights for us, I think, for a while. And Michael P. was doing overnights, and Diane maybe did nights. Sandy had a girlfriend named Karen Green who had the name Jessie Lang on the air, and I think she came in and did middays for a little while. It's all kind of a jumble in my head until it actually began to coalesce with the lineup that would become really the cornerstone for building the legend that the station became, and that was the morning show with Tommy Smith and Michael P., the Pontiff of Rock and Roll. Big Dave came along as a member of the sales staff, but enjoyed being on the air enough that he got in trouble constantly with the sales manager because he would get there early and spend an hour and a half or 2 hours on the air in the studio with Tommy doing voices and so on. And that was the team that really established Tommy's dominance in the market. There were ratings books that came out, Sharp, that the numbers were unbelievably big for that morning show. Nobody in town has ever touched those kind of morning numbers again. There were fewer radio stations on the air, but you had to be good to get those kind of numbers. Right. David Allen Ross is doing afternoons. Sandy was instrumental in making all the contacts with all the record labels and getting a service from everybody. And he was good on the air, too. He had a real kind of a top 40 sensibility, kind of a wise guy, kind of an attitude on the air, but he transferred it well to an album rock station. That whole group of us who were beginning to realize how important it was to get out and shake hands and do events and be at Barton Coliseum when shows were coming in and have the van parked there and shake hands and do all that stuff. Man, we were learning as we were going, but we were making all the right decisions. And I wish I could think of some of the other names. We had a lot of part-timers. Well, that's how you started. Yeah. We had a lot of part-timers who transferred their way into full-time jobs. Some never really did. Scott Charton left early because he got a job with, I think, the Associated Press or something like that. People went on to better positions as we were beginning to kind of get that whole thing gelled.
I had every shift. I had somebody come to me and said, "What's your name?" And I said, "My name is Sharpe Dunaway." And they said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a radio guy." "Oh, really? Never heard of you." And I said, "I'll try this." Now back to reeling in the years on Magic 105. And they're like, "You're that guy?" And yeah, I mean, I started Saturday, Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And after I got kicked out of the broadcast center in St. Louis, I came down, weaseled my way in, just totally weaseled my way in. I can admit it now. What are you going to do? Fire me? And, and I said, and I got in on the job, and I sent broadcast center a letter back saying, "I am now the 6 to 10 a.m. DJ at Magic 105 KMJX Conway, Little Rock." They thought I was the morning guy.
Right. Then you left out that it was Saturday and Sunday.
I left out Saturday and Sunday. Right. They just thought, man, he just took off and went to a market number 86, and now he's doing the morning show.
Doing morning drive.
No, I sucked in 19. You know how bad I sucked, but for some reason you hung on to me. So
I can't explain what there've been so many hires over the years that I can't explain what spark I saw. But I can remember where my office was in that hallway on Rodney Parham. I can remember you sitting on that couch, me sitting at my desk, and there was just something about this young red-headed guy who was from St. Louis, and I just thought, there's something there, man. I don't know what this is, but there's something there.
I bombed that interview. That interview sucked.
Not so in my mind.
Oh, I was so nervous. I was so like, I have one chance. If he says no, it's military. I've got to join the Army. I mean, I had no hopes. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do music. And I think everybody understands that if you're in the radio business, you don't do it for the money. Because there's really, with very few exceptions, especially in the Little Rock market, there's not very many people making a lot of money. I mean,
if I heard once, I heard a million times. If you want to make money in radio, be in sales. That's where the money is. Yes. And that's right.
I mean, I remember what was the most I ever made? Oh gosh, do I say that on this podcast?
Don't do it. It'll blow the image that everybody has of how we're.
I mean, it was a measly $350,000 a year, but I mean, no. So looking back at the station, if you could say you're going to pick 27 years, Magic 105 was alive. If you could go back and say, okay, look, knowing now what I know, 27 years from now, you're going to start day one with this staff. Who makes your all-star team? Now, I'm not, I don't want, you say David Allen Ross, it won't break my heart.
Yep. Wow, that is a very, very tough question. Unquestionably, Tommy in the mornings.
Yep. But is it Tommy, Michael, Big Dave? Is it Tommy, Michael, Roger Scott? Is it Tommy, Michael, who?
It's so hard to remove.
Wasn't there Madison Taylor at one point?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there were 2 newswomen who came through the place after Scott left, Scott Charton. We thought we still needed to make an obligation to news coverage. And there was a woman named Paula Rice who was on the morning show with Tommy for a long time. And then there was Madison Taylor, she was the first one to kind of turn Michael P. did the news for a long time too. She was the first one to kind of turn the news position into a sidekick position and began to see the real value of a multi-voiced morning show where Tommy was kind of the ringmaster, but he had all these other people who were contributing, whether it was, the voices of Big Dave or the stunts that other people would do for the mornings. The morning radio was a different animal back then. And we always took the attitude of it's kind of no holds barred. If you're not breaking any laws and you're not going to endanger the license of the radio station, a lot of people think that the first obligation of a program director of the radio station is to get the highest ratings that you can. Yeah, that's important, but the very first job is protect the license.
Right.
That's what the absolute definition of the job is. Now, make as much art and revenue and commerce as you can, but never forget that.
Right.
That's the most important thing. And we knew enough with your afternoon show and Tommy's morning show to give you enough fishing line that you're going to take off, man. You're going to run and let it happen.
That's what I enjoyed most about doing afternoons. And I think we honed that skill for me. I grew more in overnights than I think I ever thought I would.
Interesting.
Because part-time I was like, okay, I'm here more or less just running shows and doing reading the liners and but when I got into overnights, that was when I just said, look, I want to do something that no overnight show is doing. I want to entertain. Mm-hmm. And I did some things on that overnight show that I wonder if you even know about.
If there was ever a time to tell me, now's the time.
Do you know about the time that I would video people running naked down Main Street?
I don't have a memory of that. Was I one of them?
We would get on the radio and we'd call it Wednesday morning streakazoids.
You even had a name for it?
Yeah. This is what's beautiful because you know your boss is not listening. And so we did the Wednesday morning streakazoids. We did it for about 4 weeks.
Oh my God.
And then you promoted me to nights.
Just in time.
4 times. Bam, bam, bam. And then somewhere I have this on video. The girls would show up, and in order to win Blackfoot tickets, REO Speedwagon tickets, or whatever we would do, they'd have to get naked and run down to the corner and back.
Wow.
And yeah, it's like
people took you up on this and did it?
Yeah. One person showed up with a raccoon. and every morning when Tommy would arrive, I would show him the videos. And Tommy had the classic line. He goes, "Oh, I guess you could say 2 rodents were on display." But yeah, no, I did some crazy stuff. But now, needless to say, when I went into nights, I canceled that program.
Yeah, just a little more.
We had police officers literally parked around the corner at the bank. They were not going to arrest because there was no complaint.
There you go.
They were just watching. We had people show up. One person showed up from the Little Rock Air Force Base.
Oh my God!
Her sergeant let her off just so she could go do it.
Oh my! And were you like doing a play-by-play on the air when this was happening?
And videoing it.
Oh my God!
I have video. But the thing about it was like jumping out of an airplane. It wasn't like I was, saying, "Hey, run through War Memorial Stadium during a Hog game."
Right.
I'm saying run through run down Main Street. Nobody's out there.
It's 3 a.m.
I'm not offending a child. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just saying, hey, live a little, run naked.
When you say it's like jumping out of an airplane, that's how you create really creative radio personalities. Is that kind of thing happen? You don't know what was going to happen. You didn't know what it was going to sound like on the air. You didn't know exactly how long did it take them? 30 seconds to run from
quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Oh, but then we'd always say we forgot to record, do it again.
Oh man.
Yeah. We'd always say that.
Oh man, you are a devil in disguise.
But that's part of the process. And I thought that was part of the growth process of what made Magic 105 such a great place to grow.
Yeah.
Was that you could go make a mistake like that, which I don't know if it was a mistake or a learning experience.
The second, it was a learning experience.
But you can get in there and do something and not be afraid to go, okay, if I do something crazy like this is going to entertain.
Yep.
You know, we did the show one time where Hillbilly had a vasectomy live on the radio.
I remember that one.
And when he said, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, when I said, he goes, I'm naked from the waist down. And he goes, oh, that's a syringe. And we're talking about all the people that are listening.
I know.
And when he went, right in the sack. You just could hear all of Arkansas go,
I know it.
And that's what's missing in radio today. You're so afraid to do something that might be a little controversial.
Yep. And it's not really as much that the personalities would love to do that kind of thing again, but it's become so sterile and so don't do anything that might detract them for a millisecond from the music on the radio station. Man, you got to let people breathe. People experience life in different ways, and radio is just a blank canvas that you could do so much with.
And that's what you said to me when you brought me on. You said, it's a blank canvas, paint. Get on there and paint. Paint with your personality. And, you know, you always said, the playlist is God. But you kind of still secretly, I think you said, you know, when the DJ found that moment to mess with it and did it in a right way, I don't think you yelled at us. I don't think you did anything like that. And I also think it made the DJ grow. I think when you have a personality on the radio, and this is what Magic 105 was to me. This is, you know, Tommy Smith, you, David Allen Ross. Heck, you know, remember Sam Reynolds?
Yes,
I mean, let's go ahead and pull out other people. Jeff Curtis.
Oh my God.
You know, Carol Kramer, Casey Jones. These people had personalities, and when you put the personality between the music, this is what I think's missing in radio today. There's no personality between the songs. If you want to hear a Bob Seger song, you can go, hey, Siri, don't do it. She's going to do it. Oh, she did. Hang on. But you can say, play Bob Seger.
Yep.
Chances are you have it on your phone.
Yep.
And you're not going to have that DJ go, I'll try and get that on for you.
Right.
What was the best lines? It's on my list.
Right.
You're at the top of my list. When realized, I'll be the guy that blows the magic. You know, there's a playlist, and we would get in trouble if we messed with the playlist. Now, Tom was the program director. He could do whatever he wanted to do. If he said yes, there was a really good chance he was going to be able to play it for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's what the whole Brown Bagger Request Hour was built on. If
I said yes, I had to run down the hall. Hey, Tom, can I play that deep track off Van Halen's second record? Which one? Is there an F-bomb in it? No, there's really no F-bombs in many Van Halen songs.
Right.
And he said, okay, go for it. Just this once.
And there's the key right there. Say yes.
Right.
Say yes. If the people who are listening to the radio station, which they are the absolute arbiter of whether you're a success or not, if they tell you what they want you to do, what they're hoping you'll do, do it if you can do it. I mean, that's how you bond. I think the point that you were making about personality on the radio station, one of the unique things about Magic 105 was that everybody had their own personality, and yet it was all under the tent of Magic 105. You were different than me. I was different than Tommy. Tommy was different from David Allen Ross. We were all different from Jeff Curtis. He was an animal unto himself.
Oh my God, yeah.
But everybody existed under that Magic 105 tent. And people would actually, I think, tune in different shows. There were probably people who listened to you didn't listen to me. You know, Tom Wood's boring. Sharpe's the one where the action's happening in the afternoon.
Sometimes I got the polar opposite. You know, they enjoyed the fact that you were, you have this very personable approach that I tried to find. Where's this happy, Who's calling me? Hey, our kids are calling. Anyway, so I could put them on the radio. Like we're on the radio. Anyway, but you had this attitude where you were just Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
And I tried to mimic some of that. I tried to take a little bit from you, tried to take a little bit from Tommy, take a little bit more from Tommy. Tommy always said to me, he goes, you're probably going to be my heir to the throne. I said, don't you say that. Don't say that to me at all, because I I'd never wanted to be the guy that replaced Tommy, because that was
what a job.
That was going to be the biggest. You're going to get so much hate mail.
There was a poor guy named Lee Edwards. There came a time when Tommy was tempted by the Memphis siren call, and he came to me and he said, I got to do this. I got to see whether this act that's so successful in Little Rock is going to transfer to Memphis. It's a top 50 market. So he went, and we tried to replace him. And the guy that we ended up offering the job to was Lee Edwards, who lasted for less than 2 years, I think, because of exactly what you're talking about. He was a fine announcer. Yeah. He was willing to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do a morning show, try to inject as much personality into it as he could, but you just can't follow that act.
One of the things that you bond with that DJ.
Yeah, man.
And there's people that will say to me all the time, go, Sharpe, I loved your show. Your show rocked so much more than Tom Wood's show or this guy's show. I'm playing the same stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not how you what you play, it's what you did between it.
Absolutely.
What you did between the songs made the songs that much better.
And force somebody to be in a programming position and say, don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Just
back sell the record and tell them we're going to be at, Sam's Club on Saturday grilling hot dogs. I mean, that's fine, but you gotta allow artists to be artists.
You could be a soccer mom going out to buy a Chevy or Eric Johnson. Do you remember that bit?
Yeah, I do.
I wish I still had that but I mean,
I'm sure it exists somewhere.
When you think about it, though, and I've got a little bit here I'm going to play here. When you think about it, though, this was what my afternoon drive show sounded like. So just give this.
I'm so glad to be with you today. Sharpe. I have the feeling that you like me.
Is there somebody I can call about that? Like the FCC or somebody?
Dunaway.
I know. Who can I call about what the fuck you play on the goddamn fucking air? Who is it then?
You like the way I talk?
Man, that brings back old cocaine memories.
And the way I look?
I hate you.
And you know that I like you too.
Is this Sharpe?
Yes.
I'm gonna whoop your ass.
I love you, man. Sharpe Dunaway, afternoon.
Oh, boy!
On Magic 105.
Where would be the first place you'd grab me?
I couldn't tell you.
Tell me.
I couldn't tell you.
Tell
It's
me.
too dirty.
Tell me.
It's too dirty.
Where would you grab me?
Any place I wanted to.
Where?
Wherever you'd want
Have you ever
to.
seen me in person?
No.
That's why you'd grab me anywhere, because I'm a fat, ugly man.
It doesn't bother me.
Huh?
Looks don't bother me at all.
Looks don't bother me either. It's all the same when the lights go out.
All right, well, let's go.
So where do you want to grab me?
Wherever you want me to.
Really?
Yes.
Do I have to pay you?
Do what?
Do I have to pay you?
Yeah.
I have to pay you, so you're a hooker.
No.
You just said I had to pay you.
No.
You just said, I said, do I have to pay you? You said, yes, that means you're a hooker.
No, I'm not a hooker.
That's what you just said.
No, but...
Just, hey, if it makes you feel better, just say it. I'm a hooker.
But I'm not, because
Say
I'm
it.
unemployed right now.
Say it. You're unemployed?
Yeah.
How do you get an unemployed hooker? So anyway, so that's the kind of stuff that I was doing.
I could never do that stuff. You could do that stuff, and that's why you got to let them go, man.
I liked messing with people.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the opportunity. That's what I enjoyed when the people call in. You don't know who you're going to get on the phone, and you just make a bit out of it.
Yep. Didn't you do a bit one time about some kind of you got a marketing call or something, and I can't remember what it was, but it was some
Was it
kind
the Kentucky Jelly bit?
Maybe that was it.
I'm just sitting there eating my peanut butter and Kentucky jelly sandwich, and he's eating a Kentucky jelly sandwich. It's KY jelly. The convenient squeeze bottle makes it great for crackers.
And the production bits that you used to do, just like fast editing and all the sound effects and the listener audio and stuff like that. I used to love that stuff.
And that's part of what I think is still missing today is the fact that I don't think very many DJs outside of the morning show get to be original anymore.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as an overnight jock anymore.
No, are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's a dead zone.
Yeah.
Yep, just music. If that's what appeals to you, there's plenty of that available.
Let's talk about promotions. Let's go into promotions now. If you notice, I don't have any notes. I don't have anything. I'm just here to pick your brains.
Cool, man.
Promotions. I mean, some of the greatest promotions that you've been a part of with Magic 105. Some of the most outside of the box thinkings. We had the moment before we did this taping to talk to LaDawn, one of the earliest marketing directors Magic 105 had, and she was talking about Tommy Smith coming out of a sewer, for Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm. Does he see his shadow or does he not?
Right.
Dress him up in a hog hat, go out there in the middle of morning drive on Groundhog Day, have him get there before anybody else does, drop him down into a sewer that we've approved. That was one of the things LaDawn was bringing up in the phone conversation. You had to, it's like if you wanted to add something to this studio and it was going to require some kind of building code thing, you have to go through the city in order to get that approved. Well, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. You couldn't just show up in downtown Little Rock and jump down into a sewer and have live radio broadcast going on, and LaDawn was the best at getting that stuff done, and so she would get that all organized, and then we'd come out, make it look spontaneous. But those kinds of promotions that was strictly for getting attention, drawing attention to the entertainment that was that morning show, available every day, Monday through Friday from 6 to 10. And then there were the promotions that were contest oriented. There were promotions that you would involve the listeners with. Do you remember when we did the promotion that Styx was going to go on tour, and in seeing, I think this was before you came on what, 87, 88?
September 25th, 1988.
I should have known you'd remember that exactly. This was before then. This was probably whenever the Kilroy Was Here album came out, whatever year that was.
When was Kilroy Was Here?
83, 84, 85, something like that.
That was your jam. Okay, sorry.
Their tour schedule, we were playing Styx all the time. Big band in the playlist for Magic 105. And the tour got announced, and Little Rock wasn't going to be on the tour, and we said, well, we got to put a stop to that, so we started a petition drive. Got permission from the record company and the management of the band that if we were able to collect 10,000 signatures, is there a possibility that they would add us to the tour? And they said, yeah, maybe so. And so we went all out, and we were doing petition drives and signature events all over town and in the suburbs. And we would talk about where it was that we were going to be. And we did it. We got 10,000 signatures, and we presented it to the record label. And I'll be damned if they didn't add us to the tour date. And it sold out faster than any Barton Coliseum show had ever sold out. The whole thing was just a wild success, and those are the kinds of things. You get newspaper coverage, you get television, 10 o'clock newscasts coming out to one of your signature events because you're going to try to do this outrageous thing, and that was the gold standard, man. If you got a newspaper article written about something that you did and TV coverage, that was just gold.
I remember a place, it was one time you did a Little Feat concert, and to the Biggest Feat.
Right.
And it was one of the first times I ever made the paper, and I was like, Dad, I'm in the paper, and it's not the police blog. And the guy won because he had the biggest foot.
Right.
It was this huge foot.
Like size 16 or something.
What was his name? Rich.
Wow, if you remember his name.
What was funny is I'm still friends with him on Facebook.
Really?
And right now I'm just so hungry I can't remember things. But yeah, he won, and he got to go see like Little Feat in Memphis, I believe.
I think we held that contest at Diego's.
Yes.
For people who remember
Hog's Breath
Diego's.
Cantina.
Oh, man, that place.
The places we used to do things, were amazing. Diego's, Juanita's, places that in my opinion, were just as much of a part of Magic 105 as Magic 105.
Absolutely right. There was a little place in the River Market, bringing things to a more recent time, where you held the turkey drop. What was the name of that little place that was right there next to the Riverfest Amphitheater is what we used to call it.
Underground Pub?
The Underground Pub.
Yeah.
Yep, and everybody would gather there, and then you had gone to the trouble of getting a helicopter and come over, and it was fantastic.
Now that was funny the way that happened. The turkey drop happened because we were supposed to do a remote at the Underground Pub, and we just and then something else happened at the Underground Pub that we just the Mardi Gras parade. But But we had the helicopters, and that was fun. We did that twice at Magic, and then I think the Point decided, they did it, and then that was fun. But some of the times they got out of control. When I say that loosely, the Underground Pub hired us to do the Mardi Gras. James Ballantyne called me up and said, "Hey, Sharpe, man, we got you a remote at the Underground Pub on Fat Tuesday," and I went, Oh, great. Hey, man, how much does it cost to stand on top of the Magic 105 van and throw out beads? He goes, well, we probably need a parade permit for that. And I said, how much is a parade permit? He said, $25. I'll pay $25. So I paid the $25, got the parade permit. And then he said, how many floats can I have in this parade for that $25? He's, oh, you own President Clinton Boulevard for 2 hours for $25.
Wow.
Do I really? So we said, how much security are we going to need? $600. Valentine gets Cupids on board, $600. Next thing you know, we're doing this parade, and it was right there. I hadn't even thought about Katrina at the moment and the impact that it was going to have on the people that had to evacuate the area.
Yep.
And he sits there, and in 10 days, we had this thing planned and executed. And you remember when we turned the corner?
Oh, breathtaking.
There was like 5,000 people on President Clinton Boulevard, and we're on a party barge, and people are making floats out of other boats and buses. And I want to say Peter Miller was in that car. Yes. And all he could think was, this is such a lawsuit about to happen. And it was. There was so many things.
They were 6 and 8 deep on both sides of the avenue.
I don't know if you noticed that, but I almost got arrested that night.
Did you?
Yeah, the cops came up to me and said, if you don't tell that DJ to stop playing right now, I'm going to arrest you. And I said, my permit ended at 9. It's on you.
There you go. I remember getting to the end of the parade and walking back through the river market, and it was just bedlam.
It was swamped. But that was supposed to be an underground pub remote. And we
turned
never walked inside the underground pub.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if they paid anything for that or not. But some clubs were complaining because they got too much business, couldn't serve their regulars.
It was insane. It really, and that's an example of you and James Ballantyne in this case.
And Blake Woodson.
And Blake Woodson actually following the muse, man. You know, that it grew and it grew and it grew. And you knew, if I don't keep following this, man, I'm cutting off the possibility of a truly legendary night.
The pulse of, you get to keep your finger on the pulse of the community. And if you can do that, and part of that was getting out. There's so many DJs that I see in this day and age that they get on the radio and they go home.
Yeah.
They get on the radio and they go. I was never like that. You were never like that. Nobody really at Magic 105 was ever really like that.
I'll tell you one thing I got super lucky with, and that is after having done it for 10 years or however long I'd done it, before I got that staff together that was Casey, Carol, Jeff Allen, Sharpe Dunaway, Reed Mitchell, all of whom had this one thing in common, and that was your passion for music and live events has never waned. To this day, I see you on Facebook. It's 11 o'clock at night, and you're saying, I'm over at TC's having a ball.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. 11 o'clock, I'm sound asleep. Are you kidding me? But I had all of you chomping at the bit to broadcast live from backstage at a Jackson Browne concert at Riverfest Amphitheater, whatever it was. And all I had to do was, there were many nights where I would say, yeah, I'll come in and run the board. You take the Marty unit, which we used to use back then, and set it up and broadcast live the whole time. That's the kind of thing that an entire city wants to be a part of.
You said Marty unit.
I know. That's how we used to do it, man.
I love Marty's.
Oh, my God. I remember backing up with the Marty unit. As a matter of fact, this is a story I don't think I ever told Dick Booth. I got away one day early in the van to go do something, and I should have gone back to the radio station. It was something administrative, and I should have gone back to the radio station, but instead I went to Burns Park to play golf, and I had the van with me. And I thought I was going to get away with it scot-free, but when I put my clubs back in the van and backed out, I hit a guy. And it bent the Marty unit antenna on the base of the car. And I ended up getting back to the radio station and having to fess up that, I was going to steal a half a day and play golf, but I backed into some guy. Here's the ticket, and here's what we got to do, and all the rest of it.
And if there's anybody from any competing radio stations watching this right now, they'll get a laugh about, because I'm going to share a story, and this is funny. When the Magic 105 van was playing at Toadsuck, I had 2 orders: get the Marty unit up.
Yep.
And fly that damn blimp.
Oh, that blimp. Oh, my God.
And the blimp was missing a tail. And so what I thought was funny was, we flew the blimp. We called it the big limp blimp because we didn't have enough helium to fill it all the way up. But yet it went up a little bit, and then it just dive bombed at people because it was missing the tail. But the antenna on the Marty, I remember we were trying to put it up, and I remember Perry Morris was on there because there was something wrong, and he was the guy that just you call on him when something went wrong, and he got up there and he was fixing it, and we're just trying to lift the antenna up, and Jeff Allen, who was at this point now at the competing radio station, just looks at me and says, "Hey, Sharpe," and he pushes a button, and their antenna goes,
"Oh yeah,"
and I went, "You son of a." And that was part of it too, because even if when Jeff went to the other station, we were still brothers and we were still having fun with each other. And we knew that there was a time, and that was something that I think was missing early in the game of radio. You were so competitive. You couldn't be friends.
Yeah, that's just so true. Very true.
And then later on, I think that I still have friends over at that other station. And I think that even when you can compete, and it's like when you go see the MMA people, they hit 5 and they give you that gentleman welcome, so on and so forth. Then they beat the crap out of each other.
Right.
Know when to do it. So,
yeah.
One of the things, and I just want to get into this. You need me, Angela? What? No, go ahead. That's fine. No, go ahead. We're just live. Go ahead. No, tell me how many minutes we have.
About 15.
15, good.
Oh.
I'm going to do that. Oh, I wasn't forgetting. I was getting to the wheel right now, as a matter of fact. Tom wants to know what this wheel is for.
I'm afraid to know what this wheel is for.
Huh? Okay, so get on the wide angle real quick, if you don't mind, Angela. And by the way, Angela Dunaway is running this whole thing. Why don't you plug the event while I go set up the wheel?
Yeah, January 24th at Ron Robinson Theater is going to be a 40th anniversary celebration of this radio station that Sharpe and I are talking about, Magic 105. I can't believe the number of people who are coming back, because a lot of them have moved away. And what it'll be is like a panel discussion. We're going to break it into 2 parts. The very first part is going to be the blue and white logo, the very first 10 years. And then we're going to break it up into the second half, which is the red and yellow logo, the famous one. And Gary Thomas is going to be there, Scott Charton, David Allen Ross, Sharpe Dunaway, Tommy Smith, LaDawn Fuhr, Jeff Allen, Sarah Mills, who's been a part of this, was a part of the sales department for so many years. She's got so many great stories. Sharon Anderson, one of our great promotion directors, Carol Kramer, Casey Jones, The Blonde Invasion, Reed Mitchell, me, Sandy O'Connor, Gordon Hyges, who was one of our original managers, is going to be there. It really is going to be a gathering of the tribe. And what we're going to do is just tell stories. People are asking me as the moderator, how are you going to moderate this thing?
Putting all the DJs on like at once.
Easiest gig ever. All I got to do is just say, we're here to talk about this great radio station that lasted for like almost 30 years. Tommy Smith, what do you remember about living in those years and going to the boom, off and running. The whole the next 3 hours will be filled with stories.
I think it's going to be great. It's going to be at the Ron Robinson Ron Robinson Theater.
There you go.
Which we're told has how many seats in it?
I think it's about 600 seats.
600 seats, and there's already like almost 1,000 people that are saying they're interested in this event. So if you're planning on going to this event, get there early.
Yeah, it's free. So, anybody and everybody can come. We're going to supposedly open the doors at 6 and the conversation will start at 7. But if I were you, I'd get there a little before 6.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So the wheel. Now the wheel, we spent last night thinking of some random things. Because one of the things I've always admired about Tom Wood is his ability to do a live ad lib on the radio. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin the wheel, and whatever comes up, you have to do an ad libbed commercial for that particular thing.
Wow.
All right.
Yep.
So I won't give it a hard spin. That thing will spin all day if I do that.
Can I use the term hard spin in my ad lib?
Yes, you can. You get bonus points for that. All right. Boom. Chocolate milk.
Chocolate
30
milk.
30-second commercial for chocolate milk. Just a 30-second.
When you get home from work and you've really exhausted all the energy that you've got, you could get a cup of coffee, you could get an energy bar, you could get something like that. But you got to get through the evening in a good spirit. You got to get through the evening with some kind of energy. My suggestion to you is you go to the store and you buy yourself one of those pint bottles of Coleman Dairy chocolate milk. You talk about a little sugar rush, a little protein rush. You will be flying in a totally sober way for the rest of the evening. And the flavor, well, it's godly. It's absolute godliness. Chocolate milk from Coleman Dairy, available at a store near you.
Oh my God! Another one, please.
No. I've exhausted all of my abilities.
This one's gonna be.
Oh my God!
Oh, Sharpe videography, a fair roll, a fair spin, by the way.
Yeah, right.
I can't wait to hear this one.
Well, I don't know anything about video equipment, but I know a great video when I see one. And the first time I saw something that you had done, it was even before the drone usage.
Yeah.
And the drone usage has taken this thing to a whole nother level. Whether he's doing commercial shoots or if it's somebody's wedding, you've got a way of capturing the drama of the real world in your video work that really, I don't know what it costs. I don't know how people hire you. All I know is the name, Sharpe Videography. But everything I've ever seen is like that's a slice of that person's life, or that's a slice of the commercial announcement that this organization wants, that is just beautiful. It really, really is just some beautiful work. I'm just proud to be able to pitch you, if that's what that was.
All right, we're going to cheat now. Because I want to go... Where is it? Did we pull it off, Angela?
What did we pull off?
The DJ Academy?
No, it's yellow.
Hang on. Oh, here we go. Tom Woods DJ Academy. You're going to open up your own school. You're going to teach people how to be DJs. How do you promote this? I can tell you how I'd promote it, but I don't want you to steal my idea.
Well, Tom Woods DJ Academy.
You do your ad lib, I'll do mine.
Okay. All right. So you want to be a DJ on the radio? The first thing you got to do is be confident. The first thing you got to do is never push back the ideas that pop into your head, because somewhere in every single idea of a guy who thinks guy or girl who wants to be a DJ, number one, you got to love the music, and number two, you got to be unafraid to let those ideas kind of blossom. It's going to be different when it hits the air, but that's where a good program director comes into play. You come to me with that idea, say, I want to do this particular thing with Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. I can help manicure it for you a little bit, but always keep that kernel of creativity, because that's what makes somebody that people want to listen to. Not just, here's Misty Mountain Hop from the fourth Led Zeppelin album on Magic 105. That's fine, but there's a lot more that can be done with it, and let that stuff happen.
Right. So, you want to be a radio DJ? Here's how you do it. Go to school. Get a lot of school. Become a doctor. Become a lawyer. Become somebody that gets a lot of money. Buy a radio station, do whatever the hell you want to do when you want to do it, play whatever the hell you want to play when you want to play it, and don't have to worry about some suits in some freaking state that you're not even broadcasting in, deciding how you're going to do your job.
Wow.
Sharpe Dunaway's DJ Academy.
Stick it to the man. I like your idea better than mine.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
How much time do we have left, Angela? Are we in an hour yet?
You have 53. You are at 53 minutes.
53 minutes. Okay, so let's start talking about...
Name me a song that's approximately 7 minutes long. Let's see how good your DJ memory is.
7 minutes long? Hotel California.
There you go. Very good. You know, I've done a trick with my kids. If they see this, it's going to blow their image of me. But I've done a trick with my kids for a long time that if they give me the name of a rock and roll song, I can tell them exactly how long it is. And they think I'm exactly right every time.
Right.
Like they'll say, you know, The Clash, Rock the Casbah, and I'll go, it's 3:13.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, that's so funny. I have no idea if it's 3:13. It's approximately that.
One of the things I've known about you is you're not really a pack rat or anything like that. I remember the Magic 105 sign is hanging up right over here that was in the lobby forever.
Yep.
Because you didn't want it. And the guy that took it said, Sharpe, Tom didn't want it. Do you want it? And I said, hell yeah, I want it. Mm-hmm. But you met a lot of people. Now, if you were going to go through the list, let's talk about some of the famous people you met. Because that was, to me, was one of the biggest perks of being in radio. I got to meet Ozzy Osbourne. I got to meet Van Halen. I've met Kiss recently. It was like awesome. But radio had nothing to do with me meeting Kiss. It was kind of cool. Doc McGee hooked that up for me.
Wow.
And I was like, that was all through John and Jamie Daly. And no radio station at all.
Those are some powerful connections right there.
But who have you met that you think, wow, radio got me to meet this person? And
probably the most impressive artist that I met was Robert Plant. I think he was doing a solo tour, the Now and Zen album, and he came through Barton Coliseum. And I remember we had
Joan Jett opened.
Very good.
It's my very first concert after working at Magic 105.
Is that right?
I went by myself.
Wow.
Because I didn't have any friends.
That's not true.
I didn't.
we had a very select number. Do you remember in those days we used to get the backstage pass giveaway stuff, and sometimes you'd have as many as 20 people.
Right.
I remember going backstage at a Hall & Oates concert with listeners where it was an unwieldy number of people, and you're trying to corral them all so that they could come into the thing. Well, for Robert Plant, I think it was maybe 4 people we had backstage passes for, and they wanted to make sure that he was ready for them, and I went in and talked to him for only 5 minutes. It was 5, but I really kind of got a feel for this guy who was completely different than the swaggering rock star that he was during the Zeppelin years. He was a very, very flower powery hippie kind of guy, and I always dug that about him. A lot of people in Arkansas have met Bill Clinton, but I don't think I ever would have met him had it not been for radio. My favorite Bill Clinton story is one night on Rockline. Remember Rockline with Bob Coburn? Yeah. Used to be on Monday nights, I think at like 10:30, something like that. Rockline. What a great show. Interview show with different people. Now, U2 was on one night, and they were talking about some political thing, and Bill Clinton was flying into Little Rock. It was during the years that he was president. He was flying into Little Rock, and he heard the show and called Rockline from Little Rock, Arkansas on Magic 105. And of course, once they realized who it was, they put him immediately on. So here it is in our city on our radio station with our president talking to U2 live for the whole world to hear. I always remember the thrill that gave me. Got to meet Walter Payton once, the great Chicago Bears. He was in town for some kind of fundraiser that he was particularly passionate about, and he came by the radio station to help promote it, and that's something I never would have
Designing Women
been able to do. Yeah, all the members of Design. That was the LaDon Fuhrer. That was how we first realized that it was important to attach ourselves whenever possible to that kind of upper crust of Little Rock society, you know, which was opposite of what we acted like when we were in the studio doing Magic 105 rock and roll radio. But I think in everybody there's a little rock and roll, and when we got involved with that Villa Marie fundraiser with LaDon and got to meet that whole cast of Designing Women, the whole idea was the Villa Marie was the opening shot of the Designing Women TV series. That was what they showed when they were rolling the credits, and it was in disrepair and it needed all kinds of repairs, and they brought these women in, and Meshack Taylor, who was the one guy in the cast, and people bought tickets for huge amounts of dollars, and all that money went to help refurbish the Villa Marie. But we got to be the presenting station and got to meet all of them.
We're about to wrap this up, I believe, but I cannot confirm nor deny this, but I wanted to get back to the Robert Plant.
Yeah.
I've heard a rumor, and I would love for somebody to show me some photographic proof that what the person told me over this past weekend is true.
Oh, wow.
I heard that Robert Plant will bounce into the Whitewater Tavern every once in a while and just go in there, sing a couple songs, and just walk away.
Wow.
But I've heard that. I don't know if it's true. Cannot confirm or deny that. But if that's true, I'd love to see a photograph. I know somebody's got a photo of it.
The only story that I've got, and it doesn't have anything to do with the Whitewater Tavern, but it shows that he could be the kind of guy that would do that, is that when he and Jimmy Page did that first tour together, when they put out that album, that kind of acoustic album, he was in town early enough that he wanted somebody to drive him to Helena.
Yeah.
So they could see the birth of the blues for Arkansas, the Delta Blues, and he went into the radio station that does the daily 15-minute blues program, King Biscuit Blues Hour, even though it's only 15 minutes. And the person who was the receptionist for the radio station knew who he was and escorted him in so he could meet the on-air host. The on-air host had no idea who he was. He just knew it was some guy from England. He says, "So, young man, what do you do?" And he says, "I'm a singer." He says, "Oh, okay. What do you sing?" And he says, "Blues and rock and roll." And he had this 5-minute conversation with Robert Plant. Never had any idea who he was. And Robert Plant was just so cordial and so gentle with this older guy. He's an 80-year-old dude, man.
Yeah.
I love that story. It speaks volumes of his personality.
That's so cool.
Where did you hear this about the Whitewater? That's so cool.
A friend of mine named Tiffany. she's a bartender. Wow. And Angela worked at the Whitewater for the longest time. And I asked her, "Did you ever see Robert Plant bounce in there ever?" And she said, no. She was too busy getting hit on by Bill McEwen, the senator. When I asked her to marry me, she, what? Secretary of State, Bill McEwen. I asked her to marry me one time, and just once. And Bill McEwen said, "I'll get you a bigger ring than that."
Oh my God!
Marry me, and she stayed with me. Luckily,
thank God.
He's dead now.
Oh,
I'm
Ultimate revenge.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
Right, you just outlasted him.
Yeah. Okay, before we leave, first of all, thank you for being here. This is awesome. And,
is so
Tom
fun.
Woods at my house, people. No, I mean, Tom Woods in my incredible $8 million studio.
I can't remember. You asked me the other day when you wanted to make sure I knew your address if I'd ever been here before. And I know I have been here before, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it was for. There was a whole bunch of us who were getting together here early in the day, and we were going somewhere else. This doesn't ring a bell with you at all?
No, I'm at the age where I'm starting to get selective memory.
Oh, okay.
And
I cannot for the life of me remember what it was. But when I turned the corner here on your street, I knew exactly what the house was going to look like, and I pulled right in. I know I've been here before, but I can't remember what it was for.
Well, that's cool. One more time, plug the event. Somebody just watching it, hit the event one more time.
Yep,
and,
January 24th. It's a Friday night. It's going to be at the Ron Robinson Theater, which is right downtown off the River Market. It's not on the main drag, but it's where the big Central Arkansas Library is. And it holds about 600 people, I think. It's a free night, and it's the 40th anniversary of Magic 105. All the old DJs, sorry to call us old.
We're older.
Yeah, all the former DJs that made that radio station the great thing that it was. That station lasted for like 28 years, which is a real long time for a radio station. And everybody's going to be there. It's a whole panel discussion thing, audience participation for sure. We know some of the best questions that night are going to come from you. It's free admission. Doors will open at 6. The conversation starts at 7. I'll be the moderator. We're going to break it up into 2 parts. First part is the years of the blue and white logo. Second half will be the years of the yellow and red logo. And there will be many, many stories. And I've got to find out if it's cool that people say fuck, because I'm sure at some point that it will happen.
Because when Tom Woods says fuck, it's funny. I don't care who you are. This has been Happy Hour. This is the debut episode. Hopefully it didn't suck too bad. We might do some more soon.
Oh, cool. Thanks so much for asking me.
Tom Wood, thank you so much. Bye.